Yeah, thank you very much, Ian. I'd like to welcome to the stage Doug Fox, OIM, author of Lacrosse in Australia, Leamington, Elmount, and Foundation Years. Doug, if you can come forward, please. Make sure you get a brief.
It was Ian Marston, thank you. Catching up with you. It was good to hear and follow your eminent career since those times, particularly knowing it all came from lacrosse. My challenge is to give you the history of Melbourne University lacrosse for the first 90 years in 7 minutes. It can only be a snapshot. I'll start by saying all of you tonight here are members of the oldest continuing lacrosse club in the world. And you're also custodians of it, so you've got a responsibility to keep it that way. Our story begins, as Ian said, on the 25th of April, 1883, Anzac Day before we had Anzac Day. And a meeting on the campus of interested students decided to form the club. They had 10 days before their first scheduled game, which was played at Albert Park on the 5th of May. They were all novices, had 2 practice sessions and were beaten 6-0 by South Yarra. They weren't deterred, and within a few years, Melbourne University, during the colonial years, became the powerhouse club, winning the senior premiership in 1886, 89, 95, 97, 1903, 1915 and 1920, and we haven't won a senior premiership in either men's or women's lacrosse since then. So some of you have got to change that. I think it was mentioned lacrosse was one of the clubs that formed the sports union. It's good to see the sports union represented tonight, in 1904, and then the inauguration of InterVarsity in 1905. Rather than try and give you milestones, I'll talk about a few of the outstanding people over the years that this club has had as players, as contributors to university sport, as contributors to lacrosse in an ongoing way, and to the community. Let's start with Major General John Parnell, our first captain. 7 years he was captain, had an outstanding military career. The Wingrove brothers, Freddie Wingrove and Robert Wingrove, star players here in Victoria. Fred went to Western Australia and became a co-founder of the Western Australian Lacrosse Association. Andy McHarg played in the first 2 interstate teams here in Victoria, and was a successful businessman and was one of the co-people who donated the magnificent Colin McHarg trophy that we play for the men's national championship each year. Cecil Murray, the gun attackman in Victoria in the 1890s, when he left university, was a co-founder of the Caulfield Lacrosse Club, 1891, and then the co-founder of the MCC Lacrosse section, 1897. Amazing contributions. And then Sir John Latham, one of our great captains in the end of the century, early years of Federation, state team player, had a brilliant legal career, progressed on to become the Chief Justice of Australia, went into politics, became the Australian Attorney General and Deputy Prime Minister. So you come from good stock. In the early 1920s we had, well, a little earlier than that, Walter McRae Russell, and many of you will know that name. Automatic state player between 1912 and 1920. We had, once we got into the 1920s, Henry Volk was a great university captain, went on to a senior career in education and become the president of Victorian lacrosse and Australian lacrosse. But Henry is best known for the work he did in drafting the constitution of the International Lacrosse Federation, which of course now is World Lacrosse, has 70 nations affiliated, and we hope is going to lead into the Olympics in 2028. 1950s, 1940s, 1950s, the much treasured Jeff West, who we'll talk about a bit later, came along. He was also an automatic in the state teams in those years. You're not going to close me down yet. Oh, there you go. There's the 1897 premiers. You can see the Flannery sticks, and I'd probably challenge most of you with those tightly strung sticks to be able to catch and throw the ball. So Jeff West, at that time, leading into the 60s, we of course had Bill Tickner as Secretary of the Sports Union and Professor John Chinner down at the Forestry School. They were great stalwarts and kept a good eye on the lacrosse club and made sure it was well looked after. Now that brings me to the 1960s, so I've hurried things along, and I actually heard that John Grant had contacted, from the 70s table over there, had made contact with Jeff West on one occasion to check whether Jeff West realised that they had the best team that the university ever had, and he was surprised to find Jeff was talking about the 1950s. Well, I've got my vote tonight for the 1960s. Now, we didn't manage to get a full table, but we were a pretty good team in those times. We finished in the top 4 in the senior section A grade, as it was then. 4 concerned Now, like Ian, I've actually, off the field, we had a number of great contributions from people, and I've actually brought a couple of exhibits along tonight myself. And the first of these is a civil engineer, MBA, company director. He was among the most skillful and decorated attackmen in Victoria and Australia. Played in the first World Series team in 1967. He's currently Vice Chairman of Lacrosse Victoria, currently Chairman of the Lacrosse Foundation, and he recently had a hip operation to keep him playing indoor lacrosse, even though he'd just become an octogenarian. Please stand up for Rick Stewart. You can manage it, stay standing up. Exhibit B, a mathematician, professor of mathematics at Monash University, also a company director, widely regarded in Australia and worldwide as an expert in air quality and air pollution modelling. Also a state and Australian team player, and a very speedy midfield attack man who was the best in the business at making fast breaks. We know him as Rocket. He's gone on after his playing days contributing to lacrosse, coached junior teams, 10-year period he coached the Australian under-19 team to 3 world championships. They didn't win, but they played in them. And would you please stand up, Dr. Graham Ross? Because when you look at these gentlemen, what you see is not quite what you get. In my first InterVarsity away in Adelaide in 1964, we cleaned up Adelaide, as we always did, and the celebratory dinner that night after the event, Fergus Stewart, we had like 2 bottles of the finest McLaren Vale champagne emptied into the InterVarsity Cup, and it was passed from, well, the idea was it'd be passed from player to player, and we'd all have a sip and move it on. When it got to Fergus Stewart, in one continuous swallow, he managed 1.5 bottles of champagne. was some urging and lots of applause, but within a minute, I think, Ferg left and he managed to unswallow champagne in the gutter outside the pub. To this day, he claims that that was the forerunner of Australian footpath art. Now, Graham Ross, I think he was trying to outdo Ferg on the evening after that thing, and we were staying at Aquinas College, and Graham, in cahoots actually with Russell Parker, managed to scale the Colonel Art statue and adorn the statue with a bra. Now, that's an interesting question. That statue, Graham, was 35 feet in height, and like Fergus, who gave up a lot for his team, you risked your life that night scaling that. And on that note, if I were to tell you where Graham got that bra, I would be risking my life. So on that note, I'll finish with a skip over the early history of Melbourne University of Grime. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. I thought what happened at university should stay from the university. If it's a free-for-all, it'll be a different sort of event tonight. But I have to say that Doug taught me one thing that I've carried through all my life, and when I watch AFL players, I keep saying, Doug Fox told me, you know, the error that they're making. He always used to say, if you want to actually check somebody, you actually keep their eye on their hips. Don't give a stuff about what they've got in the racket and the ball. If you keep chasing the racket, they'll run rings around you. But if you just follow the hips, you can block them every time. You see the AFL players, you know, just falling for that trick every time. Anyway, we're now I'm going to hand over to Chopper, who's going to bring us up to date with some of the videos, and then I think we go back to the entrees will be served.
Yeah, that was like serving entrees.
Yeah, so over to you, Ian. Thank you very much.
Next up, I've organised a few brief, allegedly brief, messages from Edison alumni. We've got Robert Osmotherly from Brisbane, Darren Coulson from Malaysia, and Millie Caddie from Bilbao, West Australia, and he all fall asleep to Colin Anderson's recital from Japan. Without further ado, the audio is working, my audio man's gone. We'll see how it goes. It's okay, I've got to do it myself. You get all the outstreams.
I'll do it.
From Brisbane. Been up here 20 years, so I've brought up a lot of people for a long time. But hopefully have a great night. We're celebrating 140th up here on the same night. It's been my wife's birthday, and she turns a big 7-0. Like exactly the same night as Lucky. Have a good one. Cheers.
Hi everyone, this is Darren. I'm over in Malaysia at the moment, and to celebrate the occasion, I'm raising a centenary glass, centenary 1983 lacrosse glass. And I was actually recruited back in 1978 by Osmo, Colin Anderson and the famous Snake, and it was through a time-honoured fashion. Throw a goal in the air. And well, I managed to throw 3 or 4 goals. It was hooked for life. And lacrosse, like for many of you, has given me a lasting legacy. And good friends, great memories, 2 hip replacements, and still look forward to catching up with everybody whenever I'm back. So I hope everybody has a brilliant celebration, and that the this year's centenary wine is better than the one we had in 1983. Cheers to all of you.
From Desert, Western Australia, which hope that our they're celebrating with all you MULAXers tonight. Hope you have a great one.
I hope you're enjoying the celebration. For some of you, I'm a stranger, but for others, I'm a glimpse of your own heart. Your own secret mind. What is that called? My name is Paul. Not he's Colin Anderson. 49 years ago, I got the call I'd been dreading. Darren Fox, my old Surrey Park enemy, had discovered my secret. Though I was studying at Melbourne Uni, I was hoping to play lacrosse for Millie Caddie that year. I don't know if my great teammate Bruce Freeman had held me in, but I was nabbed. Stuck at Smith Uni for 4 years. Over the next 25 years, I had 3 stints at the Uni Lacrosse Club. And each time, I created lifelong friendships. And I'm sure you have also done the same. Through Jeff West, John Chimmer, Warren McGregor, the Premiers of 64, I felt the great history of this club. And through all of you, I know Uni Lacrosse will continue to great history ahead. To those of you who have been part of my long journey through the club, Chopper, Webby, and of course Sean. All the ladies of the 90s, particularly Gil and Helen. The men of the 80s, the Sled Hunters. Darren, Paul, Grant, Ted. And my soulmates of the 70s, Osmotherly, Foxy, Steve, Brooks, Bradders, Granty, Steve, Smith. And all the lads, Vicky, Elaine, Kathy, those patient bench officials. I've left out so many names, but you were all part of my mental replays of those great times. Thanks to all of you for making me better. Yours faithfully, Paul. Bye.
You wouldn't believe I've cut a minute and a half out of that. I'd like to welcome Ian. Are you still coming back or not?
It's on track.